Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Too Average Tabletop. I'm Zach,
And I'm Pepper.
and we're back.
We are back talking about games.
Talking about more games.
Games we want and want to play.
Yes, games on our wish list of either eventually buying or um, gifted to us, or else
Finding someone who owns it and becoming their friend.
befriending them, and then playing it immediately. Yeah, pretty much games that if we were given the opportunity right now to play them, we pretty much would sit down if we had the time.
If we had the time.
If we had the time, we'd do the crime.
These games, our previous list was before 2020, pre-2020, and these will be 2020 and on. So these will be newer games only, possibly some that haven't even come out yet. But yeah.
Yeah, a little mix of each, and I think you said, and it's kind of true for mine as well. They're not necessarily in a specific order. Just probably could change depending on the day, depending on what you're kind of feeling at the time.
Yeah.
I think I've got 10 on my list. I don't know how many he has.
I have 10.
And then some bonus.
And
a couple
some
bonuses.
bonus. But I think you'll mention some of those.
Ooh, we'll have to see if that's true or not. But I think you started the last one.
Yeah,
so
you start this one.
I'll give this one.
I'll
get
try
us going.
ordering this.
I'll get us going with one that you probably definitely don't want. But
yeah, we did not have. Well, spoiler alert. There was not much crossover in the last list.
Yes, there was not much, or
Not
maybe
much,
any,
or possibly any.
You'll have to check it out. But my number 10, so to say, is Cloud Age.
Ooh.
This is one that I almost pre-ordered a couple times. I think it's a 2021 or 2020
Yes.
one game, but it's an Alexander Pfister game, which recently had a chance to play a couple of them. Maracaibo and Port Royal. Before that, I don't believe I'd played any.
Very different games.
Yeah, two very different games, but I personally enjoyed them both quite a bit, with Maracaibo definitely being one of my favorite games in recent times, especially for the year even. We'll have to see by the end of the year if it gets into the top 10 new to us games of the year.
Spoiler alert, it's probably going to.
It might, at least for me.
For
I don't know
you.
Yeah, but this one sounded. Well, first off, when I saw the cover, I really love the color.
Good cover.
It's
I love
a
that
very,
cover.
very nice cover, and
Then
it almost had me sold exactly.
And then I saw the designer, and I was like,
wow. But then I liked the name of the game too, and it sounded like an interesting thing. And
it sounds like that could be a name for even like a very, very light game.
It does.
You just heard the name Cloud Age. Ooh, that'll be a quick 20-minute card game.
Right.
Cutesy. No.
Right. But yeah, I think it was when I was debating, I think it was a pre-order. I don't remember. I think there was an option of pre-ordering it, but the one thing I had kind of read about it was that it was going to have some weird or interesting sleeved card mechanism where you could kind of see certain things on the card, and then you choose kind of what thing you wanted. Like I think it's resources, some of the resources you can choose, and then you kind of reveal it, and then you get a certain amount of, I don't remember if it was water or whatever the resources are, depending on what was on the card itself, which I thought was an interesting thing, especially since the game I had played before that kind of had the changing of cards was Mystic Vale, and that was one that I've really enjoyed. So it kind of made me think that, maybe it's something similar to that, but I wasn't 100% sure if it would be something I would like or not.
Yeah, there was a playthrough. I didn't watch the whole thing, and I definitely didn't understand much of it, but I saw that. I thought that was cool. I didn't know how replayable that is, because it's kind of like hiding some information. I don't know how many of those cards there are.
That was the thing that I wasn't sure on either, because I
or if you're
think
going to
it
be like,
said that it was hidden,
I know this one.
And I was like, but depending on how many cards there are, I mean, it feels like it'd be a limited thing, but
And this one has a campaign too, as well as Maracaibo. Have you started the
I have not
Maracaibo
actually.
campaign?
I was debating it once, and I have not gone back to trying it, but maybe I'll have to try it at some point. I think I just didn't want to spend the time getting to know the solo play, exactly how that worked. But I am very interested in doing that. If I could just get someone to play it with me, I'm sure I would do it.
I might have to do it.
But no, that is my number 10.
It's very cool. I would love to have it on the shelf. Not on the table, on the shelf, on display.
Wow.
If anyone is interested in selling the box,
wow.
I'd love that.
Yeah. Just from a quick look at it, is probably my favorite box art of any of my other games I've mentioned or will mention.
No. Up next, I have a game from a designer that has done a couple games that I like quite a bit. And this one...
Is it a BC? Mr. Bruno Cazala?
No. He has the other 9 games here. But no, this one also, I believe, has some card sleeves and card crafting.
Canvas? We have that one, Jesse.
What? No. This is from John D. Clare.
Ooh. I feel like I should know this, but I'm totally blanking.
Dead Reckoning.
Oh, yes.
Don't know much about the gameplay, but I love Mystic Vale and Space Base. I feel like he could become one of my favorite, well, he already is one of my favorite designers, but definitely anything he puts out, I'm interested. I really like the artwork, the style that they went with this game, and I'm interested in the dice rolling. I believe is that the combat.
I think so.
Where you kind of roll them, and it's where, depending on where they end up in the tray, kind of tells you what you've got to work with. And just all those things put together got me really interested in this game.
Yeah, did you say the theme? The theme got you interested too?
I mean, yeah.
Or is that not something that really interests you as much, like a pirate, nautical type theme?
I mean, not overly interested, but I feel like we need some of that theme, because I don't know if we have that many, like, pure, full-on pirate-themed games. So I definitely would like having a couple in the collection.
Yeah, I think that was one that I had kept an eye on when it recently, or not recently, but I think it's been a little while now that the campaign had happened. It was one that I had kind of looked at, but then I was like, I wasn't 100% sure, but I don't think it's delivered yet, has it? I don't think I've seen anyone really talk about it that much yet, because I'm assuming once it does start delivering that I'll be seeing some more. But yeah, I think it was one that I was hoping to just get a few more reviews of, and just to kind of see if some of the people that I watch that my tastes kind of meld with a little bit, kind of see what they think of it, and then make my decision from there. But it is an interest. I think that's a good pick. That would be an interesting one to try out at some point. It's my number 9 of this list that is definitely rated from worst to best based on the day. Is I don't know that it's actually 2-player only. There might be like a 3-player option, but I think it's mostly made to be a 2-player game. And it has an older brother of a game that came before it that I was interested in, but it was one that I thought might be a little too heavy. And this one might be as well. It is Curious Cargo, which the older brother, I believe, is like Pipeline. I think they've got some similarities. I haven't looked at them comparatively that much, but there's just something about it that looks really interesting to me, and how it would kind of, I'm assuming there's a little bit of like the route building type thing in there of putting your pipes together. This is one that I think if it came across as a little bit lighter of a game, I would probably already have because I'm always looking
yeah.
for solid two-player games, and I feel like this would be different than pretty much anything we have in the collection currently.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a bunch of games that play really well at two-player, and that may be a 4 or 5-player max game, but they play really well at two-player. But sometimes when a game is made specifically or mainly for just a two-player thing, it just is even better, better
yeah.
experience as a two-player game. But yeah, this is one that this one also has a really nice box cover. I think
Yeah, that does
I
look
like
nice.
it anyway. It's
nothing.
it's sort of simple.
It's nothing
but
flashy,
Mhm.
but I do.
I liked how
I
the
do like.
colors blend together.
Yeah.
It's a very nice looking box. So I don't know. Those
I
are
wonder
actually
how big the box is. I feel like that one.
I
I'm
feel
gonna
like
think
it's not.
I'm gonna think it's like a Garfield size, but it's actually gonna be like Ticket to Ride or
That's
something. I feel
that's
like.
kind of what I wondered. Now that you say that, I kind of wonder that too because it feels like it should be. Like the pipeline should be like the Ticket to Ride size box, and this one should be Garfield or maybe even smaller than that size box. I'm not entirely sure, but it is one with an interesting theme that
Yeah.
I am hoping to one day give a go to.
Yeah, I'd like to play it too.
Got my opponent.
Oh no,
I need to get my phone out.
I've signed up for hundreds of games
Bye now.
of Curious Cargo. Up next, I will go with this one. Also has a big brother of a game, I believe.
We already have Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion cover.
We want another. This one is in our gaming group's collection. The big brother of this one is, which you like quite a bit. And this one is.
Did it come out in Target early?
I believe so.
And people were
Terraforming Mars.
People were upset.
Ares Expedition, I believe it's called. I mean, I have no
That's
clue
interesting.
how close this is to Terraforming Mars or how it feels. But if it's a smaller version of that, a better version, or just even the same theme, I like that theme. But Terraforming Mars, I like a lot of things about it, but I do have some complaints about
That's
it
what surprises me.
that you can hear in our top 50, where I tore his picks apart.
Yes, you just mainly have to look at the top 10 video. So you know about how well I rank it, but you'll have to see what his thoughts are. I don't think you can look at any videos to find out where he ranks it. Exactly, anyway.
Unless we do a bottom 20 games.
Wow. You don't hate it that much, I don't
No,
think.
I like it. But yeah, I don't know, something about this. I don't know why this one has me interested. But for some reason, just a small box, Terraforming Mars on a small box, just has me excited. Something about it. And I'm like, cards, because it's just card focused. I just am interested to see what they can do with their card play. I don't know, are the reviews high about this? I'm not sure. I haven't seen much in that way.
I can't remember. I think I might have. I'm trying to remember what Board Game Co. and Quackalope. I think they both reviewed it. Can't remember if maybe one of them liked it more than Terraforming Mars. Maybe they both liked it less, but I can't remember exactly. But I think that was because I was thinking about it too. I'm like, this seems interesting. It'd be interesting to see if it played in. Because I think it's supposed to be a faster game too.
Quicker.
I was like, that'd be interesting. I like Terraforming Mars, but at the same time, like, I love Terraforming Mars. So I'm like, do I really want to change it though? I don't know. I think that's the one thing that's held me back from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you got a very similar feel,
Okay.
then I think it would definitely be up my alley
I think
because
this might go
cut
up
the time in half
because
probably.
of Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion and what that was able to do for Gloomhaven, how much I've enjoyed that. I'm like, okay, maybe this could be similar to that, but for Terraforming Mars.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a fair pick because I had even debated at one point getting it, but I'm just like, but I really love just Terraforming Mars. So I don't know if I need this, but yeah, I definitely maybe look at it more and see if a lot of people are thinking that it feels very similar, because then if that's the case, if I could play it in half the time, that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, number 8. This is one I don't know if it'll be on your list. It could be. This was one that I was, out of all mine, well, there might be one other one. There's possibly 2 that I think could possibly be on your list, but not for sure. But this one is...
Game Face.
This one's kind of cheating, too, because the original came out...
Originals, reprints,
It came
sequels.
out in, I don't know, probably like 2012, 2013. It's been a while. But this one was reprinted to have another very nice looking cover. I think the pieces were updated a bit. Not sure how much they changed gameplay and whatnot.
You think this could cross over?
Well, I don't know for sure that it would cross over, but I think there's a little bit of a chance, because I was surprised when we were making prediction about the Dice Tower Awards that I think you picked this one personally for best reprint. Rococo is the game. I think this one is.
I wasn't looking at the camera.
I think is a card drafting game, and it's got some other Euro type things to it. I think the reprint is what got me into it, because then I went and looked back at the original cover. I'm like, okay, that definitely looks like a Euro game, because it just has that art that I don't know that it necessarily looks old, but I don't know how to explain it exactly. Just that the look that some games tend to have that just are more maybe less of an actual theme. Just that type of artwork. The original, but yeah, once I saw that new one, I was like, I think it's Eagle Griffin Games, is that right?
Yeah.
Publish it?
Yep.
I think if it hadn't been as much as it was, I probably would have gotten it, but that's what held me back, because I'm like, ooh, I don't know, but this is one mostly based on look, probably a little bit too much, is one that I would definitely want to try right on the spot, and I think I've heard almost all positive things about it, so I would assume that it would be one that would be very enjoyable to me.
But maybe not to me. I think it's a little heavier, quite a bit heavier of a game, which I think, just because I was kind of sucked in by it being a reprint and looking nice, so I was like, oh, yes, let's get this game. And I kind of looked, and it sounded tough, so then that's kind of killed some of the love I've had for it, for a game that I know nothing about. But yeah, so it is not on my list, but it does look nice.
Okay.
I'm not surprised it's on your list.
Did you think that one would be one that would be on my list?
I didn't think of it, but now that I hear it, it makes sense. 'Cause I know you've said a couple things about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. The original reminds me... When I look at the cover, this is what I think every time I think of this game. That's the first thing that I think of. It's not exactly like this, but it just reminds me of that. It's like, well, maybe Jesse wants the original game. I'm pretty sure he likes Tudor.
Oh, I do. On to my next one. Okay, we got that.
Next. He's crossing off Rococo. Like, at least I don't have to mention it.
Here is a particular, I guess, theme or IP that we do not have any games set in. That is the Marvel universe.
Ooh.
So,
is he going all in on the Marvel United pledge? That's what it is, right?
Yes.
With everything.
I actually have written a cheat, because one of them's pre-2020, and Marvel United is 2020. I have Marvel Champions / United.
Wow, just trying to sneak it in.
I don't know
This guy.
which one would be better for us. I know the one's a little lighter, and the one's more of a kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, kind of like you kind of have your deck, and you're kind of playing your cards off of each other. I think Champions
No,
is more
I don't know
of
that
that.
much
I'm
about that
I'm
one.
not sure, so
Yeah.
I have them both written down because obviously if we were going to get one, we'd do a little more research and be able to narrow down which feels like the better fit for us. But definitely, I would really like to have a Marvel themed game in our collection, since that's my at least my favorite movie franchise.
Yeah, I'm honestly shocked that we don't. But yeah, it seems like all the ones that I've seen, it's just like,
They've never really been a theme or a genre that we're
yeah.
familiar with.
The worst part for me is I prefer like the worker placement Euro games, and I just don't think that I don't know that there are any of those out there, and I don't know that. I mean, there might be. I'm not saying there aren't, but I don't know that there ever really will be. I don't know. Maybe. I think if someone made the perfect game for it and was able to pay for the IP, they might. But typically, I feel like if someone's going to do that, they're just going to create their own new universe.
Yeah.
They're going to make kind of a heavier game that I might be into a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it would happen, and maybe there is one out there. If there is, definitely let me know in the comments, because I would love to have a Marvel type game in our collection, and that's why I was when they had that big, huge Kickstarter where you could get like I don't know how many different people and all these things getting unlocked all the time or whatever.
It's exciting.
I was like,
you almost get swept away.
I know, that's why I'm kind of shocked that this list, and if you watch our other one, there's so many of these with Kickstarters and expansions. I'm actually surprised at how well I've not went in on like all of these, because if I had millions of dollars, oh boy, I would go on a spending spree. And I have probably no idea, but yeah, that was the only thing with the Marvel United. Like, it was really, really cool to me, and I was like, oh, this just feels like maybe the Marvel game that I have to get. But then, when I was being realistic, I'm like, it might be a little bit light for a game that I'd like, and especially, I'm someone that probably likes to go maybe all in on something, and it's like, and if it is a game that I don't play that much, I'm just gonna have like a whole couple shelf spaces full of it, and I'm like,
but the minis,
those are cool. I will give it that. So
I agree.
That is a fair pick. That'll be my number 11, or well, it could be on either list, I guess. If there is a game out there that is Marvel themed that has very good Euro mechanisms in it, definitely let me know, and it'll be on my list.
Imagine a campaign going through the MCU. Oh, that would be so awesome.
Someone's got to make it.
Make it now! Come on, Disney. You got so much money.
Maybe Tom Vassell can make it.
There we go.
Well, back to me. Number 7 for me, I've just got to say this so that I remember where I am on my list.
Oh, yes.
Is Anno 1800. It's probably another one you knew would probably be on my list, or if you didn't, now that I say it, you're like, oh yeah, of course.
I did suspect
that it might be on there.
This was probably on the short list for me.
Interesting. This one is, I think, from Martin Wallace, who did Brass Birmingham, I believe.
Never mind, it's off the short list.
Which is a game that I really love as well. So I think that was the first thing that got me into it, and somehow the cover drew me in as well. It's not like that great of a cover. It's kind of middle of the road. It
seems like it should be kind of just generic, but it stands out. It sticks in my brain more than most.
Yeah,
I would say
that's true. It's something about it that it's like, it feels like they could have went with something like a lot worse or something. But I think it's a really nice picture. I don't know if it really like gives a good idea of the game.
That's a great. They could have gone with a worse cover. They'll put that quote on the box.
Could have gone with a much worse cover. But no, I think it's based off of some. If there's a computer game or some game is. I don't know exactly if the gameplay is based off of that, but maybe the theme or the name or whatever is based off of that. But this was one that I watched. I can't remember who played it. Was it Mike and Chris and Z?
Yeah,
Which surprised me too, because Z's typically not someone that's into heavier games, and I think this one's a little bit heavier. Not
a little
from
bit.
the gameplay, it didn't seem like it was maybe that bad.
Yeah, that's what I see. I've been surprised a lot of times lately, like with Endeavor. I'm not surprised with that, but some of these games that look so overwhelming, but actually it's not that restrictive and it's not that hard to follow the actual turn-to-turn flow.
Right, and this one has like an interesting tech tree where you kind of build these different things, and then you use those in order to build other things, and then you can use, if another person built something that's needed for a future item or whatever, you can play off of theirs, use theirs, and I don't remember what they get paid something or whatever, and I don't know. I just found that really interesting, and there were a lot of options. So I think that would be one thing that I'd be a little hesitant about, because I know like Caverna is one that has all these different rooms, and I'm just like, there's something about that makes it very hard for me to want to get it back to the table. So that'd be the only thing I'd be
Yeah, I think with
maybe
this,
worried
it's
about
a
this.
little simpler,
hmm
a little easier to focus on one thing over Caverna, where each of the
500 rooms.
Yeah, it's
So I think that'd be the one thing, but I definitely still really, really want to play it.
yeah. I was getting a little annoyed when you kept texting me. Oh, have you watched Anno? Have you watched Anno? Have you watched Anno? And I'm like, what is this game? This must not be a game for me.
It most definitely is not.
Then I did end up watching it, and I was like, okay, I'm fine if he ends up getting that one. I enjoyed my watch of it. My number, what number are we on? List 7?
7.
7. My number 7. I definitely know what it is. Oh yeah, I got that. Let's go.
Cross him out as he goes.
Let's go with a game. I don't know if it is a solo game or if it can be played more players, but probably just to fill my solo needs. A game that is surprisingly thematic, if you are to believe Mr. Tom Vassell, and that is Super Skill Pinball. It's
Is it 4K?
4K, yes. It's a solo game. It's kind of a roll and write type game, but to be thematic. Which, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of pinball, so maybe it won't come through as well for me. But yeah, there's just something about it that interested me. The way you can kind of hit your ball, send it back up, activate some things up there, bounce around, activate things again and again and again. It did actually feel, watching it played, pretty thematic, the way you jumped around the board and wrote in different numbers to score.
Interesting. Yeah, I hadn't looked at this one that much, but yeah, I think it was one. I think I saw it recently for a halfway decent price, and then I was like, I know that was nominated for a Dice Tower Award, or maybe was it 1 or 2, possibly, whatever it was. So I was like, it must be pretty well liked, and I know Michaela tends to like the roll and write type games,
yep.
and I usually am a fan of them as well if they have a good type of like bonus or kind of really rewarding feeling to them. So I think if that had this, or had that type of feeling, I think it would definitely be one up my alley.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is a fair pick.
What do you got next?
Ooh, number 6. This is one that I almost bought, even though I had not done, and I still have not gone back and done
I think I know what
a
this
bunch
is.
of research on it. It has a rondelle again that you go around with, I believe, some dice, and then once it gets 3 dice in an area, you have to like roll them and move them. The Red Cathedral.
Oh.
This is a little bit of a smaller game, but think it has a decent amount in the whole
Yeah.
package. It's just one that also has an interesting cover. I don't know that it's my favorite cover, but it's an interesting enough one that it has me wanting to try it out. This is mainly one though that I've just heard a lot of really good things about it, and people seem to really be enjoying it, which I don't know that it was as popular or it's been as popular as some other games, but I think I've actually been hearing more and more about it recently. So maybe it's finally starting to reach a few more people. That's the main thing that's had me interested in it, and I'm always a fan of a good rondel, and I think it's, if I remember right, there's some resource type things in it as well, so hopefully a little bit of a Euro-y feel.
Sounds like something right up your alley.
Which is definitely right up my alley.
Sounds like the perfect brew.
So yeah, I don't know if it would be maybe your favorite one, but
Do you know if how heavy it is, or
see,
quick?
and that's
or...
the thing too. Is I don't think it's as heavy as like some of these other ones that I might have. So that was another reason why I was hoping, or I should probably look into it a little bit more and possibly get it at some point.
Yeah, I get the impression it will kind of give you the experience of one of those bigger games, but maybe in a shorter time, which I'd be up for.
Yeah, I think that was part of it too, is looking for something that isn't quite as big as some of these other ones or as daunting.
And we'll look at the playtime, 4 to 5 hours.
4 to 5 hours, but it does not take up a lot of table space, so it doesn't feel like it's going to take up that much time, but it will.
Yeah, good pick. Good pick. I'll write that one down on my list. My number 6. Let's go with a game that I really know nothing about.
Oh boy.
A game that I don't think has even been
mentioned.
kicked.
Should we be mentioning it
no
here?
No one has. You heard it here first.
Pandemic Legacy Season 4.
This is a reprint, actually, of a game. And one thing that got me excited, Z Garcia, I believe it was very excited for this one. That is Skyrise. Have you heard of this one?
It sounds familiar.
Coming from
But
Roxley Games, I believe.
I guess I don't remember exactly, but I know there's been a decent amount, it seems like, within the last few years of these.
Oh, yeah,
like, all these names that sound
Cloud
like they're like...
Age, Skyrise.
Oh, yeah.
Cloud City.
I don't know if this is one of them, but yeah, it's a lot of these like ones that seem like it's about these buildings or whatever and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's what that is.
I haven't actually seen any pictures of the board, because I don't think they've actually started kickstarting this game or producing or anything. But it will be coming sometime soon, hopefully.
One day.
But yeah, it's got Andrew Bosley art, which also kind of something familiar, because we have Everdell and Tapestry, which we both like quite a bit. So when I just look at the cover, I'm like, ooh, it's just, I know it, it's familiar, and pulls me in. And also it has, I don't know what it is, but spatial bidding mechanism. A spatial bidding mechanism. Which I kind of tried to read up a little bit, and it sounds like you're bidding on where you'll place it. So like you bid, then I bid in this spot, you bid in that spot. I guess I would let you take it, and then you'd have to build whatever building in that spot. I think that's the best that I can come up with. But whatever it is, it sounds unique and different from anything. But yeah, that along with just the great looking cover, I'm excited.
Interesting. Will have to be one that I'll have to take a look at. Yeah, I feel like I've heard that, but I think there's been some other ones that probably the names sound very similar to that within the last couple of years, so I might be confusing it with something else. But I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah. And I forget what the original game was called. That would probably help if I knew that one. But yeah, if you know what spatial bidding mechanism, what exactly that is, leave a comment down below, because I am confused. But excited.
Confused but excited. So then my number 5. We're going to a designer that's been mentioned amongst one of us already, and it's actually 2 games by this designer that I'm just putting together because I'm not sure if you're going to give me the one or not, and then the other one has not come out yet either.
So is this like a sequel or?
The one is a reprint of a game, of an older game. One that, can't remember if it was this video or the last video, that you talked about there was 2 options that we had between the theme. And then the other one is also by this designer. And it is the designer that I mentioned with my first pick, and that's Alexander Pfister. So the first one is Great Western Trail. So if you don't let that one count, because it's sort of not really.
You're talking about the 4th edition down in
well, I'm talking
2025.
I'm talking about the very, very important feature of having those colored hats on your cowboys in the 2nd edition or 3rd edition.
Do they have colored hats?
I believe so.
Ooh. Moved up a tick.
I think they did. You have to check it out. I'm pretty sure. Because I was like, dang it. I thought that would be a cool thing. I was surprised that nothing had kind of had some way to, show that, or adjust the meeple in a way. Yeah. So I don't know that actually comes into affect gameplay at all, but it's a cool thing. So that one was one that, both of these, I think it's basically been maybe my love of Maracaibo is kind of just, I don't know, maybe push me. I don't know if it's fair, but it's just a theme that I want to explore more with Great Western Trail, because that was one where it was between that and Western Legends. We ended up getting Western Legends, and really had a great time with that one. So this one, I don't think it's quite the same, and it's more of an open world or sandbox type feel, and this one's more mechanism driven. But then Boone Lake is the other one. Still don't know that much about this one. It's currently pre-order it. It's another one that I'm currently holding back hard, trying not to do it. I'm like, just see what's thought of it beforehand.
Are they releasing this and Great Western Trail together?
I think Great Western, hasn't the 2nd edition already come out?
I mean, it has, but I'm wondering, do they have some sort of 2-for-1?
No, I don't think so.
Thing?
Sadly not. Otherwise, I would.
Otherwise, he'd be all in.
I'd be all in. I wonder, is that from the same publisher? I'm not sure.
Ooh, I'm not sure.
Might not even be the same publisher, because then they might not do that deal.
Yeah, they probably wouldn't.
I don't remember exactly, but yeah, this is mainly just based on how much I like that everything in Maracaibo. Hoping that some of those things could maybe find their way into these games. Just something that I'm like, I need more. I need one of these 3 games by him.
A fan of Pfister.
And now I'll probably be disappointed. But no, the Boone Lake cover is another cover that I really like. So I think if you want to get my attention, get a designer that I like, and then just slap a great cover on it and tell me that it's got some nice, juicy or dry Euro mechanisms in it, and you have my attention.
Oh, that is true. You don't know how true that is.
Just wait till the last 4.
Oh, next up, I have. Let's go with this one. This one's also a reprint or 2nd edition, reboot, new theme, whatever. And I know that I've heard a lot about the original on top 10s and what from Dice Tower and everyone. And now it seems to be that people prefer this new edition to the original, and that is Starcadia Quest. The original being Arcadia Quest, and Again, I feel like this is another one of my combat, dungeon crawling type of games.
One of your more recent loves.
One of my more recent loves. But yeah, the new version looks really nice, I believe. And kind of just a little cartoony, lighthearted, but also go and beat people up. I don't know. It seemed fun to me.
Yeah, I don't know that much about this one, so I don't have much to add. But yeah, I've heard it mentioned quite a bit, so I'm guessing it's probably a pretty solid game. So yeah, we're kind of diverting on what.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna convince him for this. For these.
I'll give it the old try if we end up getting that one. Just like I expect you to do with my number 4.
Oh no.
This one might be a little harder to get you to play. I think it feels I think it's definitely gonna be one of those that feels like there's a lot going on, at least from the pictures I've seen. But that's part of what has me really excited. There's something colorful feeling about this, but it also feels very mechanical and Euro-y, and that is Praga Kaput Regni, or however you pronounce it. And it's also got eggs in it, apparently, supposedly. So that definitely puts it over the edge.
And a bridge.
Yes, and a bridge, and then like a stand type thing. Which, something about that, I think what's really gotten me on this is, especially on Instagram, all the pictures that I see of this are just absolutely stunning and beautiful. It's just, I don't know. It's something that gets me going every time I see it.
A lot going on the board, which may make it overwhelming and hard to see things as you're playing, but it could make it very photogenic.
Yes, that's why I definitely rank these in an order, and that's why it's number 4. Is I'm like, at the end of the day, there still looks like there's a lot going on. There's a lot out on that board, and that's the only hesitancy I have with it. But everything else looks absolutely like a game that I should love.
So much like a game that I was that close to getting it you for your birthday, but I ended up going some other ways. But yeah, I had looked into it, and I was like, yeah, this is totally Zach. But yeah, like the stands there, I think the reviewer or whoever had said that it's not very practical to have that, and it can be a little hard to see at times. So I'm like, that's a little disappointing, because it's kind of one of the draws and one of the things that really gave it a great table presence. But yeah, I knew that likely we were going to get this at some point, and I'd have to play it. But yeah.
I think this is Vladimir Suchi.
Sushi, yeah.
Which I think did Underwater Cities as well, which we've only played one time, but I think
I like that one.
both like that one, so
yeah.
I'm
not completely opposed to this one.
I got him.
I'll play it once.
Luckily, it's colorful enough for him to pull him in a little bit. And then he'll probably end up liking it more than I do, and he'll want to play it all the time. I'll be like, oh, this guy.
Yeah. Let's go play Great Western Trail. Ooh, up next. How about this one? This one is not a reprint. It's not a second edition. It's a one-of-a-kind, very asymmetrical game. And
TI4?
With the way things have been going, that would be a good guess, but no. It's a game that I think you considered backing a while ago, and then
you don't like. I don't think you liked it that much.
It didn't
to be a different.
It didn't get the best of reviews.
Has to be a different one than what I'm thinking.
But the asymmetry just has me intrigued. Merchant's Cove.
Wow, I didn't think you liked that one. Interesting. This was one that was very hard for me to refrain from backing when it was on Kickstarter, but
yeah, I think if it weren't for the kind of mediocre reviews, we would probably have this game. But yeah, it looks fantastic. The whole production, I love it. Immediately drawn in by even just the cover without seeing the whole board
I agree.
and everything. And then you hear that like every player will be playing a
Completely
different game with their special, not even just abilities, just their
No.
way that they play the game.
Yeah, it's like a different, it's almost like mini games
Yeah.
that you're playing your own mini game, and then really, I think the only thing that really comes
Just the
together
center
is,
board.
yeah, the center board, and then like putting, I think you put people on these
Yeah.
boats or whatever, but outside of that, you're pretty much playing your own mini game.
But yeah. So, I mean, that with the great look, even though it may not be for everybody, I think those two things are enough to push it over to where I still want to play this game.
Yeah, I think this one's definitely one that I want to play. Yeah, this one was also one, kind of like Marvel United, that I wasn't sure how heavy each of those mini games was, and that was the thing I was worried about as well. But yeah, and because I think does the base game just come with like 4 of the factions,
It might.
which I was like, I think I would maybe feel a little more comfortable if it had started with 6.
Did they release it with an expansion or anything?
I think you could, at the time, you could buy. I think they had 2, maybe 3 3 expansions. Basically, 3 more mini games or 2 or 3 more mini games. So yeah, but it is one I would definitely play as well. If someone brought it here right now, offered to teach, I would play it right now. That is a good pick. This next one may not be quite as beautiful, board-wise especially. The cover's decent. It's not the worst cover, but it isn't insanely inspiring. But I guess the cover is much better than the board, I believe.
What could this be?
It is Beyond the Sun.
Ooh.
This is one that
Yeah, that cover's pretty good. I like it.
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely good compared to the board, I believe. That's pretty blah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose based on the cover, I would expect a lot more from the board. But it's basically just tech tree feel. It's not that it really needs to be on the board, because it would feel very mechanical no matter what.
Yeah.
I think, because I sort of played this once on Board Game Arena. I haven't gotten back to playing it, but when I played it, I still didn't fully know all the rules and stuff. But the parts that I did understand or know how to play, at least originally, were really, really enjoyable. You're basically able to take various actions depending on what you have unlocked on the tech tree. You have to buy like certain, I think, level 1s to do certain level 2s, and certain level 2s to do level 3s. And you can use ones that other people have done, but you have to first buy or get access to the level 1s that connect to that level 2. I just found that really interesting.
Are tech trees one of your favorite things in a game? You've mentioned them a couple times.
When I said that I was filling this out and some things were like looking very similar, I think it is. I think that's something that I like, trying to get certain things to unlock the next thing, to, and then get a combination of these things to unlock the next. There's something, I don't know, fascinating, interesting about that to me. Just something that I've come to really enjoy in a game. But then it's got there's some worker placement in it as well, which is one of my, if not my, go-to mechanism of choice. If I had to just randomly get some whatever random game on Board Game Geek just based on category, I would click worker placement, I think, and see what came out.
I you didn't play it with me, didn't offer to play it with me on BGA. No, you've offered a lot of times. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in giving it a try. I don't know if tech trees are really my thing, but yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about this, so definitely interested.
Yeah, and I think, too, I feel like in this case, I think it would have been better to have it on the table. I think it was just quite a bit on Board Game Arena. Like we've said before, for most games, I really like Board Game Arena, especially compared to like we've used Tabletopia. But this one, not that it was bad, but it was just, I think, a little harder to see what everything did. And I think that would have been a case where I would have probably preferred to have played it on a table, like right in front of me, to be able to kind of see everything at once a little easier.
Yeah. And now, the big boy. Another big one. Another epic one.
Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy.
Another game in a line of games.
Oh no.
A sequel to a game.
Sequel to a game.
And I would say an uncle to a game we own.
Uncle to a... I have no clue.
Frosthaven.
Wow. Wow.
This is including any possible...
This is coming from a guy that used to call Gloomhaven Goonhaven.
I was wrong! But yeah, this is including any possible Jaws of the Lion version of Frosthaven. Because I really love Jaws of the Lion. And it is a little scary thinking about a big game where it's not so easy to get into and set up. To where I'm not sure how much I'd really want to get to the table, these big games, but I still really love the system of Gloomhaven.
And I'm not sure. I know I had brought up the campaign, I think, a few times when they had it, because before that we didn't have Jaws of the Lion at that point, no. But I was like, this could be a time to jump in or whatever, but yeah, I wonder if they will implement some of those. We haven't played actual Gloomhaven, but yeah, I think the walkthrough type things and Jaws of the Lion does a really great job, because I think that was part of the thing with Gloomhaven is there's so much content, it's just a little overwhelming. It's kind of like a, I don't think we mentioned this on any list, and I think it came out before, so I think I can say it, that like Seventh Continent is something that's kind of been like one that I would maybe like to play at some point, but at the same time it's like that feels extremely overwhelming unless it's like I'm playing with someone that knows something about it. That's kind of how I felt about Gloomhaven, but Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion does a great job, so if they can implement that in Frosthaven, I don't remember kind of from the campaign if that's what their plan was, because I'm trying to think timeline wise, those come out at like the same time.
Yeah, they might have when they announced the campaign, and when Jaws of the Lion came out, that might have been around the same time.
I feel like they
I
assume at a similar time,
because they would have been working on Frosthaven at least for sure.
Yeah, and it's been how many? I don't want to say it's been 2 years. Has it been 2 years since the campaign for that? I always get thrown off.
I forget.
Or is it only 1 year? Wasn't it in like the spring? Was it this spring? No,
must have been last.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be coming up. It's probably about 1.5 years since.
Yeah.
So they've had plenty of time. You know, if it wasn't like that before, they've had probably plenty of time to make changes to at least, maybe give an intro type thing, scenarios in there, to really get you on the right track. Especially if they've seen how well, I think that's insanely well received.
Like number 6 on BGG.
Right. Yeah. So I would think they see how people have loved that too, and it's been able to get into stores like Target and Walmart or whatever.
Yeah.
So for it to be able to do that, I think I would definitely go to that type of system if you could. I don't know if that's the case, but like you said, if not, I would probably prefer Tusk of the Mammoth or something like that, or whatever.
Beak of the Penguin.
Saber Tooth of the Lion. But no, I would be interested to see what that would have to offer.
That's the one that he's interested in.
Then we get to my number 2, which I'm much, much more interested in than the Gloomhaven or Frosthaven. there's a reason why I'm interested in it. Well, a couple reasons. It reminds me, sort of, in a way, not really reminds me. It reminds me of a thing I like in this type of game um, from some other games that have similar types of things in them. And it's also from a publisher that I really like their games.
Oh,
And
yes.
own quite a few. Garfield game.
I almost put this on my list.
Oh, this was
It was so
this was the
close.
other one that I was.
It was so
That was
close.
my when
But-
I said Rococo. That was the other one that I was like, yeah, he might have that. I wasn't sure, but
because
now
I-
that we've gotten up so high, I was like, I don't think he has
Because I knew it would likely be on your list, that's probably why it wasn't.
it. But Hadrian's Wall is one that has also been on my list pretty much ever since I played. It wasn't right away. It was on my list right away, but ever since I've played Raiders of Scythia, which I didn't think I needed to play, because I'd played Raiders of the North Sea, had Raiders of the North Sea, when my brother and sister-in-law got the game, and I was just like, might as well give it a go. I forced you to play it.
I did not want to.
And you're like, this looks worse. Or, I mean, we were both, I think, I thought I'd preferred the artwork and stuff in the North Sea more than it, so I'm like, that's probably the same game. It's not really needing to be played, but after I played it, I was like, oh yeah, definitely. So then it got me way, way more interested in Hadrian's Wall, and then just from what I've seen and heard about it, it sounds like it's a lot of bonuses, which I love in blink and write games. I don't think it's actually roll and write, but in any of those types of games, and you get 2 sheets, I believe, to write on, and it sounds like it's just filled with juicy bonuses, which is like in That's So Clever, Fleet the Dice game. Those are the types of things that just really make me love verb and write game. So it's definitely been on my list ever since I played that.
That does have me interested. A Android game or kind of that genre of games, but from one of these bigger publishers, or at least a publisher that releases heavier games. Completely not what I would expect.
Right. Yeah. I actually was under the impression before because I think it came out before we played it, or I think it was just coming out or something when we played Raiders of Scythia. I was under the impression that it was kind of like a redo of Shipwrights or something.
Yeah.
Kind of. That's what I assumed it was like going to be a trilogy that kind of like redid the North Sea trilogy, but that I learned that was not the case, because I was like, oh, it must be similar to that. But then I was like, oh, it's a whatever verb and write game. I did not expect that from them, and that had me interested for sure.
Yeah, very excited for that. How have you not ordered that?
That is another one that I have. I don't know. I just hold myself back. I don't
Just
know.
so we can
That
put it
is-
on the list and talk about it.
That is kind of surprising that I haven't. That is one
Crazy.
that, out of all of these, that is probably the most surprising one, because we have almost all the Garfield games, all the
Almost everything.
North
but
Sea and the
Shipwrights.
West Kingdom ones outside. Yeah, and then we've got Circadians. So I'm a pretty big fan of that, and looking forward to their. I don't remember what it's called now off the top of my head. They're one that's going to be launching soon, I believe, on Kickstarter. But that one sounds like it's more of an area control, a little bit maybe heavier. So I don't know if it'll be up my alley or not. We'll have to see.
We will see. Up next is we are back at Millie's top 2 are pretty close. I'll just keep the surprise for last.
Oh boy!
This one is we're back to
Surprise
the
Frosthaven wasn't a surprise.
we're back to the reboots and the second editions.
I
and
was wondering if
sequels.
you would give me a little bit of talk for having some of
I
them
knew
on my
I knew
list.
I couldn't.
But now it all makes sense why you haven't.
But yeah, this is one sequel or whatever to a game that I'd heard a lot about, but kind of for our early years in the hobby, had kind of dismissed it as kind of like that's not our type of game. But now as we've explored more, I'm like, okay, I'll give this a try. And it's one we've mentioned lately or hinted towards, and that is Kemet, Blood and Sand.
Yes. I was wondering if this one was going to be on your list.
And just at this point, I'm just like, why not? Let's go, Kemet. But yeah, I do. I mean, I should say the game board, I will say, is ugly. For a reprint nowadays,
it makes Beyond the Sun look like the great artwork of Scythe or something.
At least that's a tech tree. It makes some sense.
Right.
But yeah, I'm not a fan of that board. Me personally, and doesn't look that well. Good to me. But the gameplay, I think there is some area control and some combat, some card-based combat. Maybe could get you in here with your love of Scythe and stuff. But then, yeah, I think there are also different tiles. I don't think it's really a tech tree, but you can kind of have access to different ability tiles to increase your attack or your health, or possibly even get a monster, which comes with a mini, that you can move around and take into combat, as well as build up your little pyramids with these little clear, translucent colored caps to them.
Oh, I
which are
should've-
just beautiful. I wish the board looked a little better, so everything else on it would pop even more.
Oh boy. I don't know what's happened to you. I should have never, ever showed you Dwellings of Eldervale, because I think that's turned you.
That was the turning point.
It definitely was, for some of the bigger, more grandiose games. You're definitely naming a lot of the hot, almost remade classics. So
Yes.
definitely be interested in playing them. Once or twice. Don't know if they would have made my list exactly,
What do
but
we've got
Interesting.
Frosthaven is a sequel, Kemet is a reboot, Skyrise is a reboot, Terraforming Mars is a new version, Starcadia is a remake.
wow, he's not taking
I
any
think
risks.
Yeah, I think that's most of them. So only like half the list.
Wow.
Just wait for number one.
Yeah, my number one as well is one that was is going to be remade, that I've been waiting for and waiting to hear more about this. It just doesn't come. And this is one that we have played on BGA, or it's a redone version. One we've played on BGA once. And you didn't really, well, I wouldn't say that either of us were really great at it, but I think
Yep.
there are a couple things that
Yes.
you weren't 100% sure on
I
how
know.
things were working.
I like that game.
But it is Russian Railroad, or Ultimate Railroad is what's supposed to be coming out, and I have just been impatiently waiting for this this game. 'Cause I think that kind of has, I don't know what you even call they have tracks on them.
Yep.
I don't know what you'd call that exactly.
Yeah,
just
I'm not
some track
sure
movement.
Exactly what I'd call that.
Right, because you've got worker placement on the main
Check.
board, which, there we go. That's the first thing you need to be my number one.
What about the cover?
The cover, I'm trying to think, what is the Russian Railroad cover? I think that's a
red
nice,
and
I think it's
and
solid,
kind of
nice.
beige.
Yeah,
Yeah. I like it.
It's a nice one. I can't remember if the Ultimate one has already come out. I think it's supposed to be
kinda
like a
just
star. Yeah.
on a black
No,
background.
that must be. I was like, is it a star on a black background? And if you're saying it, that must be it. It's a decent cover. It doesn't. If it was a better cover, then I'd really be wanting it. But it was from the one gameplay. I remember thinking about it for
It was
days
one of those
after,
games where you thought about it
for days after, and
still thinking of it to this day.
still thinking about it every day, every night. Can't sleep, just dream of it. But no, it's one that I knew or I'd heard that the reprint or whatever was supposed to be coming, and I'm just
It's not
so
been, there has
disappointed that it
not
just.
been much information on that.
No, I have not seen anything really, and it's just.
Because, yeah, it had been a while since we had played it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, where's that new one? I wasn't keeping up on it.
Well,
And
that was it too. I was like, I could have them play it some more on BGA, but we might as well wait.
Yeah. Yeah, I was considering that for your birthday. And I'm like, oh, that new one's probably out by now. Because I didn't know all the details of how things work that well. But now I know everything takes 5 years to actually arrive into our hands.
Yeah, I think everything's kind of just been delayed for most of the companies, which happens. It sucks, but I'm still waiting, just like all these other games. But waiting. Even though I said this wasn't really ranked, that's probably the one that I'm waiting for the most. I would say most of the time. If you ask me most days, it would probably be that. And if I'm not in like a somewhat heavier mood, I would say Hadrian's Wall would probably be the other one. Just because, not that is light, I don't think, but...
I completely forgot about Stonemaier Games and the upcoming open world or whatever it's going to be game. I didn't even think about that. That probably, I mean, that's just a given.
Yeah, that's just it. I was like, because we get. I was thinking that too. I'm like, I don't know how much I want to do because none of mine are, I believe, are anything really that are coming out in the future. And the thing with Stonemaier, even if I was going to do something that were coming out in the future outside of Ultimate Railroad, I think that Boone Lake as well. That were some of my only ones, but I was like, Jamie doesn't really release that much information about them until they're actually pretty much, ready to be sold. So I didn't know that much about it. I suppose for him though, I think, well, obviously I'm looking forward to Tapestry expansion, but yeah, I think I'd be looking forward to his open world game, and it's actually, I think I'm glad because I think it seems like he's maybe had some setbacks on it because he's been talking about it for a decent amount of time, but I know, or I was pretty sure, I think it's cooperative, so that was one thing that I was like, that's kind of disappointing, but maybe he can do it right, but now I've kind of, like you, kind of started, enjoying them a little bit more, so I'm like, maybe the timing will be, just right and perfect for that game, so.
Never doubt Jamie's plan.
There we go. He knew it all along.
Well, I'm going to throw an honorable mention in here. There was a game that I didn't know was 2020, and that was Sagani, which was on Tabletopia. It might be Uwe Rosenberg. It's a tile placement game.
So there's a chance.
And they just each tile kind of has some different colored arrows, and they're different colored tiles, and they're facing off like in the corners or on the sides. And to fulfill that tile, you have to get a tile of those colors in that direction on your grid. I don't know. That was kind of a quick, another quick, snappy, maybe filler game that I enjoyed on Tabletopia. But
interesting. I might have to try that one.
Yeah, that's an honorable mention. Obviously, Hadrian's Wall and possibly Divinus as a. But I feel like that's another one where it might be a little light. So I might want to wait a while and see what the overall thoughts are on the game.
Right. Yeah, definitely. That's kind of where I was sitting on that one as well, because there were some things that looked interesting, but yeah, at the end of the day, I was like, that might just be too light of a game for me to really enjoy a bunch of it, because I think that's kind of got a campaign to it type thing, and I was like, it can be a little tough to want to get that back to the table if it's really feeling light, but I'll have to see.
But I guess number one.
But this one's definitely not light. And by that I mean it's a 20-pound game.
It might be. I believe this is Cool Mini or not.
Oh boy.
And this is this is a second edition to a game. I was not interested in this game when I first heard of it. Because when I first heard of it, it came as a bit of a shock because someone had put it as their #1 game of all time. And that man was Tom Vassell. And I had never heard of this game before. Project Elite.
Oh, I have
You
no
don't
clue.
you don't remember it?
No, I
No.
was thinking. I can't even think of Le Havre.
Le Havre.
I was like,
That's not a new game.
that's not a new game, and that's not cool in or not. I don't think. So I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I believe this was the game that defeated Gloomhaven for him, which came as a big shock to me, even though I still wasn't a fan of Gloomhaven at the time. And I saw this one, I'm like, what the heck is this game? And I was kind of turned off of it by that. I wasn't really in love with the cover. It didn't seem like the art style really fit type of game I was looking for. I'm still not that big of a fan of the cover. But when I watched gameplay of it, it was not at all what I expected it to be. I'm like, okay, there's probably combat in this, killing monsters, but it's actually a real-time game. So you have the map, and the monsters are moving, and you're rolling your dice, moving your character, rolling your dice, attacking, rolling your dice, moving monsters, and trying to complete certain objectives in these timed rounds that you're having, which blew my mind. I had completely misjudged what the game was.
I will say that I have too, then, because I think I have heard of that one, and I assumed the same thing. I'm like, that just sounds like a game that's maybe about a bunch of dudes on a map killing a bunch of other ones. But yeah, that sounds a lot more interesting.
But yeah, that just immediately got me interested because that was so unique and shocking that it's kind of been sticking in my head lately the past couple of weeks since I watched that.
Interesting. I might have to look into that one a little bit more because I just assumed it was some combat major dice rolling game, but that I may or may not like. Is it a cooperative game?
It is a cooperative game.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that about it as well.
Which again would remove any alpha player
right
thing. If it's real time, you're dealing with your stuff, they're dealing with their stuff.
I think that's one of the best ways to do some of the cooperative to get rid of that. I think that's one of the best ways. But awesome. That's a great list. Not quite as great as mine, but great.
Nothing is.
If you are looking forward to any of these games as well, or have played any of them, let us know. Let us know what you think about them, if they're worth getting. If these make you think of another game, because maybe you own some of these, let us know that, hey, maybe try this one out too, or look into this one. We always love to look at new games. I mean, it may not be the cheapest thing in the world, but it's always fun to learn about new ones and kind of maybe see some things that we hadn't seen before. Like you said, with your #1, I mean, that was something that I probably would have never looked at, but now that you mentioned it, I think that's one of the good ways to kind of look at games you typically wouldn't look at.
Yeah.
But otherwise, check out our other video on another 10 games each that
10 games
were pre-2020.
10 old games.
Yeah, very old, because I'm sure a lot of the ones we had were not like 2019, 2018. But yeah, let us know what you think. Otherwise, we thank you for watching, and definitely don't forget to
keep on nibbling
and whining like Cookie.